All right, we're live. Welcome everyone to Monday Night Monster Jam, Ep.5. Yeah. All right, we're killing it. I hope. Glad to have you guys here with us tonight. And we've got a good show for you. We are back with our final episode for now on the Vampire Batman that we're working on, and we're going to show you a lot more with that tonight. And we will go over a bunch of some announcements and some other things as always. I'd like to introduce to the two guys that are helping me get this show up and running and keep it going smooth for me, and help me out to make sure that this thing comes to you guys as best as it possibly can. And that is Ryan Endersby. Ryan, you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. Hope everyone's ready to get some monster making on.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sam, I'm going to try not to mess up your last name, Catarasano.
Got it. Yep.
Sam Catarasano's with us.
Everybody.
Say hi, Sam. Cool. So Sam's helping to keep everything running smooth in the background, make sure we're doing good. And again, welcome. Let's start off tonight. Ryan, let's just see who's with us, hanging with us right now, and say hi to everybody.
All right, Casey, we do have, starting from the top, we've got 22 people here chiming in. We've got a few
Awesome.
that are chatting amongst themselves. We'll start with Ben Hernandez. We have, of course, Collier Wilms joining us each and every week. Always appreciated. We've got T-Tan. We have Creative Mutation. We have John Eubank coming back around again. We've got
Nice.
Magneto Creations.
What's up, Magneto?
We have Neo Kazama 2. Simon Garcia.
I know
Kevin
what's
Young,
up.
and Mikey Seaver, Spook Show. Always glad to see those folks.
Yes, good to see them. Good to see them. For those of you guys that don't know, there was a name mentioned in there, and I'd like to say hi to every one of you guys, but I can't remember that whole list. But welcome. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. There is a name in there, friend of mine, and who's, I think, has become one of the most exceptional painters. I've watched him grow for years. John Eubank. Thank you for joining us, John. John is, if you guys ever get a chance to look at his Facebook page or whatever, I highly suggest that you do, because he's a great painter when it comes to resin kits and resin busts and stuff like that. He's always doing really cool work. So take a look at that. All right. So we have Vampire Batman Part 5 tonight. And what we'll be working on tonight is I've tried my best to get around to this guy a little bit as I could. You know, some nights, like we talked about last time, the couch won. Some nights I won. And, so I did as much as I could do on him with the time I had available. So he's not quite finished, but what we're thinking is, next episode, we want to come with something, change it up, come with something fresh. We're going to have something totally different for you next week on Monday. But for tonight, we're going to finish what we can on Batman, take him as far as I can take him in the meantime. And then we'll revisit him down the road a bit, because there's a lot to do. I actually ended up doing a hand. I didn't like it, and I got to redo the hand. So that's going to take some time. All right. So, and maybe that'll be a hand tutorial later. Who knows? We'll see. And so, we're going to mention this each and every episode. We want to talk about our giveaway coming up, because as we grow, which we are growing pretty good, each week we're getting more and more subscribers. And as that gets closer to that 1,000 mark, we want to remind you guys about a giveaway for once we hit 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. We are going to be giving away a set of these magnet heads, fully painted, 100% fully painted by me, 10 sets to 10 lucky winners. They will be shipped directly to you at no cost to you, to cost me, but that's okay. It's a thank you to all the subscribers and the supporters on this stream and helping us make this thing work, because without you guys, we couldn't do it. So you guys are the most important. So 10 lucky winners will win a set of these magnets, fully painted. These here are not fully painted. These are just castings. Well, these guys were green. But anyway, you get the idea. They'll be totally painted up by me, looking cool. In fact, I was talking earlier about John Eubank. He just painted one of these recently. You should check it out. It's really cool. I'm gonna steal that paint job, John. It's really good. Anyway, but that's it. 10 lucky winners are gonna get these, and that's gonna be a lot of fun because we'll draw those out and decide who's gonna win the 10 sets. But thank you so much for all your support up to this point, and we will do future giveaways as well. There's some others we have in mind. So this is just the first one. All right. We've got tonight at 7, we will be sharing an artist spotlight. We're going to do every Monday, 7 o'clock. We will share with you, either an artist that was a big influence on me as I came up, or what is just someone that's awesome out there that's doing some awesome art. Who knows what? But we're going to do that tonight at 7. So stay tuned for that. And I'm going to get jamming on this thing because there's, I got to do a lot of work on this. So, as usual, I will be using the same set of tools as I used last week, pretty much. I mean, I have my favorites here. One thing I want to talk about real quick is there was a discussion I saw recently, and actually I was going to focus on this briefly, and that's this little batch of, well, I'll just leave it here so Sam can shoot it. A little batch of liquid, and what that is in there, it's not vodka in that thing. It's not a shot. That is 99% alcohol mixed with some lighter fluid. Now, typically, it's just in case I get into some brushing down or wanting to clean up some things on this Batman sculpture, maybe the teeth or whatnot. So one of the things I want to talk about is, a lot of people always ask, what do you use to brush it down? What's your ratio? Why do you use that? And typically what I use is odorless terpenoid mixed with alcohol. That's my go-to. And I had a big thing of terpenoid here somewhere. And of course, today of all days, I can't find it. I don't know where it went. It just grew legs and walked away. So that being said, I know lighter fluid works, so I just did the same ratio using lighter fluid. And the ratio is this. There's if say this is your cup, right? And this is the cup I'm using here, which is just like a ketchup mixing cup, ketchup for French fries or whatever. So I would put about 75%, 99% alcohol. So 75% filled up of the cup of 99% alcohol. And then the other 25%, or you could do whatever ratio you want. You could do 70, 30, whatever. But I usually do like 70, 75% of the alcohol. And then the rest, I do terpenoid. But in this case, since I didn't have the terpenoid, I'm just using lighter fluid because that'll work too. So you could do that. Now, the lighter fluid, the 25% lighter fluid or terpenoid, odorless terpenoid, which you can buy at an art store, that's what really cuts the monster clay, because monster clay is very wax based, so alcohol won't cut it, by itself. In other words, if you're brushing down details or something, it's not going to eat into it and sort of dissolve it. So you need a little bit of something more harsh in there. So the odorless terpenoid or like lighter fluid, that's what you want. And then the alcohol's job really is just to evaporate it off the surface and dry it quicker so that the surface doesn't remain too mushy. Because if it will remain a little mushy if you put too much terpenoid or too much lighter fluid in there. All right. So that's what I use. That you can try any ratio you want. If you want more cutting, you can add more terpenoid or more lighter fluid, or even just try without alcohol, but then you're going to have a real slimy surface for quite a while before it dries out. So something to think about. If you want to get back to work right away, you don't want that slimy surface. All right. Now I'm going to just dive into this bad boy here. Now I've put a little bat symbol on his chest to help it speak more about him being Batman than it was before. I remember thinking just the other night, like, he's missing something. What is he missing? And, oh, yeah, he's missing the symbol on his chest. So kind of went for a very sharp graphic novel type of bat symbol, something that sort of fits the character since he's a vampire, really sharp points and stuff. So what I did is I just etched out on the clay with a tool the design, and then I laid just a slight thicker layer of clay on top there, and then carefully go in and smooth it out, and then you've got your symbol.
Hi, Casey. I just wanted to jump right in here. We have Kadeem Hardison on the line again. He says, "What up, Case? Back again. Question: do you find it easier to get great detail on a larger scale or smaller scale sculpt?"
Kadeem, what's up, buddy? Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. Yeah, that's a good question. Well, larger sculptures, it is easier to do detail. I mean, it is easier to get things in there because of the size. Smaller stuff, you get tighter and also scale issues, right? So the smaller you go, let's say I'm doing, for example, skin pores, like for the skin. When you get down to this size, the skin pores have to reduce. You can't put human-sized skin pores on the piece because then it looks out of scale and weird. So you do have to go down with your tool size, and just gets that much tighter and that much more difficult. And then when you get to stuff like miniatures, you don't see guys putting that kind of detail in because it's really not necessary in such a small thing. But yeah, so the larger stuff definitely would help with the detail. The only problem with larger stuff versus smaller stuff is it takes that much more time to detail the surface than a smaller piece because it's so much bigger. So if you're putting skin pores everywhere, you're gonna spend some serious time doing that versus a smaller piece. So that's the only that's the only downfall to that. And of course, I'll go a little further on that question. When you're into a program like ZBrush doing it digitally, it can put it on one side and the other at the same time. So you save time. Whereas the traditional stuff, I have to do all of it by hand, both sides. So it's more of a discipline to sculpt traditionally than digitally. Not that digital doesn't have its things. I mean, it still takes a tremendous amount of time to sculpt. It's funny. I actually have talked to a few people about the digital stuff too, and a lot of them do say that they spend just about as much time digital as they used to traditionally sculpting. It's not really like it's the hugest time saver or the largest time saver. Just because it is digital, they still spend a lot of time getting things right. So I found that to be interesting. But there are some shortcuts to it that you can't get traditional. And you could zoom in, you can't just like zoom into this thing like microscopic. And so, but yeah, good question. Thank you, Kadeem. Appreciate it, man. And thank you for joining us again for Monday Night Monster Jam. It's awesome to have you here. And awesome to have everyone here joining us tonight. Appreciate all you guys coming and hanging with us. Hopefully some of you guys are sculpting along with us and working on something cool. We've been appreciating all the shares on the Facebook message board on our Monday Night Monster Jam Facebook page. That's been really fun to see all the different art that's being done out there by the different artists and people sharing what they're doing. It's cool. I love going in there and seeing new stuff being posted all the time. So I'm just throwing in some wrinkles. Eventually I got to get into the, I got to make it look like not just muscles, but I got to make this muscle start to look like there's a layer of clothing over top too. So, that's one of the things I got to get into here with this character. Decisions. Also, I got to think about the way clothing folds will go and which way they're going to travel. And right now I put some things pulling, but we need to get some stuff going crossways as well. Figuring that out. Well, let's just start throwing some stuff in, and we'll see where we go. So what I do is take a little worm of clay, and then I use this little tool here to sort of blend the two sides off, the edges, and then that kind of helps me see it as like, once it's blended in, it starts to look like more of a clothing fold or something. And for all you, since this is the subject is Batman Vampire, of course, look, I got my shirt on tonight for the moment, but for all you Batman fans out there that have was it HBO Max or whatever that's out, the new movie's out, the Batman that's out, you can watch it today? Yeah, you can watch it. So, little reminder. Also, for you superhero nerds like me and all of us out there, you got the new trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder. Looks pretty legit. It's cool. So a lot of stuff happening. All right. I think two can start throwing some stuff in the neck here. I'm just gonna move my way around and on this sculpt and add little wrinkles and folds until it starts looking right. And I think eventually I'll have to figure out, probably not tonight, but I'll have to figure out like his cowl or his cape or his wings or whatever it's going to be. If it's going to be wings, it's going to be a whole lot more time on this than I originally was thinking about. So we'll see about that. I'm thinking it's a tricky thing too, because I want to take my time and get this right, because one of the things I don't want to do is lose. There's certain key muscles on this guy that I put in that I really like, and I don't want to see them just erased away by putting a wrinkle over it. So I'm trying to be careful about where I'm going to put a clothing wrinkle or a fold or...
Here, Casey, there's actually a question in the chat right now from Neo Kazama 2.
Neo?
Yeah.
Hi,
Casey,
Neo.
I use rubber inks and acrylics for latex masks.
Mm-hmm.
I use earth magnets to attach, let's say, a predator bio and sometimes sealer. Parentheses, V-gloss / Liquitex.
Okay.
Cracks paint. Say bio and sometimes sealer. Oh, sometimes sealer cracks paint. Suggestions on better sealer?
So it sounds like they're doing latex.
Yeah.
Latex, and they're looking for a good sealer. They're using V-gloss.
Yeah, V-gloss and Liquitex.
And Liquitex. And Liquitex. Okay, so they're using one or the other or whatever. Well, I mean, V-gloss was designed to seal over rubber cement paint, and so it works pretty good. Let me think. The biggest question is, are they wearing this stuff? Is this a display or is this for wearing? That's the thing, because if it's for display purposes, then you can get away with just varnishes from Liquitex. But if it's for wearing, like you're gonna wear it or you're selling it to someone that's like gonna dress up as a predator and use it as a cosplay, and that stuff's never gonna hold up 100%. There's always going to be touch-ups no matter what. There is never going to be a sealer that 100% protects wear and tear on a suit, and that's just something the customers buying it have to understand, that that's just the inevitable. You're pulling this thing on and off your head, and you're putting a suit on and off. There's gonna be wear and tear no matter what sealer you put on. There's nothing's gonna be bomb proof. But I would say V-Gloss is probably a good one to stick with. But if you're having cracking, then that means, my guess is that you're using too many thick layers of acrylic paint or something on there. Try going to rubber cement paint only, because that's going to be flexible. The only problem with that is, we've talked about on this show before, rubber cement paint is extremely toxic. So if you're painting or airbrushing rubber cement paint, you're going to need a respirator and good ventilation. You cannot use that stuff without that. Yeah, because you're just going to cause yourself some serious harm to your health. So, yeah. But that is the best paint. The only problem with rubber cement paint is it's hard to paint how you would paint using just acrylic. Like, it doesn't flow through an airbrush as nicely. Even when you thin it real thin, it still has a spattering effect coming out of it. I mean, you can paint fine detail with it. It's just very tricky and time consuming to do. I did whole Predator suits at K&B out of rubber cement, and it was, I hadn't done it before. It was kind of an awakening, experience. It's like, whoa, God, I can't spray super fine, tight, veiny stuff with rubber cement. So one of the things, my biggest suggestions to you that you could do is save your super fine details for just straight super thin acrylic, but all your other layers do rubber cement, and your super fine details do them with acrylic, super thin acrylics, and then seal them in with rubber cement over top of the acrylic layers, and that would really give you pretty foolproof suit that would hold up pretty well. I mean, again, customers, if this is being sold to a customer, they're gonna have to make some plans to to touch up things. There's just no way. This stuff doesn't hold up forever. Okay, so I'm just throwing some wrinkles, trying to follow some of the forms to some degree, but also like thinking about, well, where would they land? How would they look? Just trying to figure it out here. So that's kind of what you guys are getting to see, is like the process of just like, how am I figuring out where these things are going? You can also, like, if you are not sure, you can map them out by just etching some wrinkles through. Like, come in and draw them out and see, and then you have a little map to kind of follow along, if that helps you. I'm just laying them in and just going for it at the moment. This is being stretched, so here, so we're going to get a little bit larger tool here. See if we can get a little bit of like a lifted pull, fabric pull here. Might be interesting. You'll see me use my finger to kind of just massage down some of that there, the edge of the wrinkle. I mostly just use wood tools for this. They blend the clay really nice if you use a wood tool here, like you see me using. And then you can also, some of them don't have to be raised. You can carve in around some of them as well. So like that, and then we can adjust it you know, or soften it down like this. You know, it's like finer or softer wrinkle coming out of those. So, you know, some of them can be carved in, some of them can be just placed in there as raised. So you can do a couple of different kinds of wrinkles and get a different look. Kind of helpful to change it up a little bit so it's not all exactly the same. Lay the worms of clay in there and just blend. That's really all there is to it. And if you don't like one, you know, just take it out. Just get rid of it. It's not gonna ruin your sculpture if you don't like it and you know you're like, okay, I don't like that. It's got to go. It doesn't work. You can take it out of there. All right. I get a little bit longer worm here. Nice thing about this monster clay, man, you know, you just have a little piece in my hand and it's super soft. It does react well to body heat, so it can stay nice and pliable. And these are kind of, you know, in a way, kind of comic booky wrinkle type folds, clothing folds. I'm kind of keeping a little bit of that vibe to it. I think it might look more interesting that way. I also had a chance to work on his lower teeth a little. Like you might have noticed I put some in there. They're not totally refined. Teeth are something that takes me a while. I love to like just sit there and tweak those things until they're, you know, 100%. So I'll you know, when I put teeth in, I'll put them in and then I'll play around for hours, sometimes just noodling back and forth until they look really pristine and clean and nice. All the tips are sharp and everything. So I put a little time in there, but not, you know, not fully yet, not 100% there yet. But you can kind of at least see some evidence of the upper teeth and the lower teeth playing together. They're not perfect, but we'll get there. So the idea is to try to make this look like he's got a suit, some sort of suit on, as we put some of these wrinkles in. Another friend of yours on this adventure, if when you're sculpting wrinkles like I am, is your sponge. Like I showed you guys last week, this black sponge is a really good tool to just blend things down. You know, this is a great tool. And a lot of times I'll cut these into shapes. So I won't just sometimes, you know, you see me now using it because it's got nice sharp edges, so it's fine for what I'm doing. But a lot of times I'll cut like a more of a rounded sort of egg shape, and I'll snip it into like a rounder shape so I can really get into certain areas. But in this case, actually, it's working great just as is, as a broad refining tool. and I can kind of get next to those wrinkles and drag them out a little bit. It's hard to see like on camera exactly what it's doing, but it does blend down and help refine some of the stuff in there. So that's a good one. Okay, so now let's see. We're gonna do a few. I think we'll do a few over here again. Let's get this tool here. I think I want to see a few coming out from the underneath the pec muscle here. So what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to carve them in, as you just saw, and then I'm going to come in with my worms of clay here and lay them in, and then just sort of blend them out, and then I'll come back and refine everything here. See if we can get like a little bit more of a pulling action going underneath the pec muscle here. All right. So let's see. And then once I'm happy with that, I'll, just refine it again with a little bit of the sponge or some other tool. A lot of guys use there's tools like this, you can use like this is a little finger thimble, I think they call these, protect your fingers, and you can use them. It's just that for this particular thing, because I have, these are great and everything, you can kind of round things out. You can even add pore texture with these, because they have these little spikes. But the one issue though with using it here is it's going to really destroy that the raised wrinkles the way I want them. So, or at least the way I think I want them right now. So what I'm going to do is go to the sponge, because the sponge does a better job of cleaning up in between those wrinkles and getting in there. You can kind of already see it, how quick the sponge works, and without really destroying too much. And if I want to push the wrinkle raised a little bit more, I can kind of come in, after the sponging and just adjust it a little bit with the tool. So Monster clay is really good with wrinkles, man. Like, you can see on the side of the cheek here, under the cheekbone, some of these tighter wrinkles I've been putting in, this like to indicate like a stretching, and you can just see on both sides like the really cool subtle wrinkles you can get. We've got one main one here, like a crease that's coming towards where the cowl sort of ends and shows his face. But and I've even got some really tiny pulling wrinkles that are really tiny and subtle, just where this kind of like ridgy bone or something is right here on his cheek. So it's kind of cool. You can get a lot of great wrinkles and textures and stuff out of monster clay. Now this is a good one where I'm running the tool flat underneath for just a second there, and now I'm going to come and I'm just going to go upwards like this, upward strokes, and you'll see what that does. That sort of rounds that over automatically. And that gives us kind of a neat wrinkle. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it, you know. There's not just one. And I would suggest, as you're going around doing stuff like this, that you break it up that way. You know, you do some different techniques, because just one technique is fine, but if you continue to do the one same technique over and over, it tends to not look as interesting and organic as it should. So and you tend to start doing the same thing over and over again, and then it all looks kind of the same. So breaking it up to some degree is important. And you're almost giving like each wrinkle its own attitude, you know, like kind of like how you would treat hair on a sculpture. You know, you want to give it some life. You don't want to just put a bunch of worms on the head and then hope it looks good. You kind of have to go in there and actually sculpturally give it some life and some attitude. And a lot of this, I may end up refining again and again until it's 100% what I want. This is just the first round. Like, let me throw some stuff in. Let's take a look. So none of this is really 100% final yet. But I love the way with Monster Clay you can just get the like tightest fine. It's because all the wax that's in it. You can just really get super hairline wrinkles if you want. It's pretty amazing. You just play with it a little bit, you'll see what I mean. And like here we could do a few small little carved wrinkles. And I'm just using the blunt end of this little finger. There's almost like a little finger pick on the end of this, which I love, man. I love the shape of this tool. You know, one side is like a kind of an offset surfboard kind of thing, and then the other side is like a little finger pick, so I can get some more extra wrinkles there, and then just come in with this and blend them down, and you start to see how you start to automatically get that like really nice pulling effect. All right, it's looking kind of cool. Now, some of your wrinkles, oh, I dropped my tool. Some of them, you might also want to go with not so fine, you know, something a little larger, say. So you can come in here and suggest that. And then we can have some smaller ones next to it. So some of these would be more like just carving in. You know, you can even get some tight ones wrapping around the shoulder here. Suggestions of like wrinkles in the suit. So you see, you know, the one thing about traditional is we were talking about earlier, you know, you gotta really earn the other side, because this isn't going to do it for me. Even if this was ZBrush, because this shoulder's moved, I would be sculpting asymmetrical digitally at this point anyway, so I would be earning it on both sides, you know. the symmetrical thing is only good up to a point, and then you have to jump off into asymmetry if you really want to make things look natural anyway. So it's more. I think that's better when you're just blocking things out. But in this case with traditional, you gotta go in and get it all in there by hand. Thinking, do I want? Yeah, I think I want one more holing wrinkle here. Feels like it's a little weird weird divot in there going on. Let's see here. So a lot of this is just me going around and looking at things and deciding, does it need something else? Does it need a little more interest? Is there something missing? And this eventually will lead up to, the final detailing of the piece. I always tend to go through these stages where I'm like, okay, what's missing? What's it need? I mean, I'm still not even happy with this chin. There needs to be something more with this chin. So I have to figure that out. Maybe a clef or something in there. Some little forms to help bring out that chin. Got a little more interesting look to it. And I think right there where the top of these obliques are hitting, that's sort of where that sternum would be. That's a good, just under the bat symbol, that's a good place to add some bunched up, compressed clothing wrinkles. Let me go back to my smaller tool. I think we can get like a series of 3 or something in there. Nice. There we go. Man, there's some I've been on my Instagram, I'm always checking out different artists and stuff, and man, there's some guys that just blow my mind with some of the Batmans and stuff that they paint or draw. Some amazing artists out there. If, and I mean, same with monster stuff. I mean, there's just so many amazing artists these days. It's incredible. It's like as soon as we opened up to social media and could see a friend in Brazil or England or whatever, like all of a sudden now you can see all this amazing art from all over the world. That is probably one of the most amazing things to me about the social media stuff. Of course, I hate all the whatever politics and war and all the other garbage, animals, cruelty, animals and stuff. I hate all that. Hate seeing all that stuff. That's the downfall to social media, but the upside is all the amazing art and different things being shared out there. So there we go. We got like some wrinkles kind of bunching up here. We might need one more. One more, although this is breaking the rule of 3 right now. There's a weird rule of 3 in traditional sculpting, maybe in digital too, I don't know, but with traditional sculptors, I came up in the effects industry and masks, and there's always this talk of like the rule of three, which is like, so say you're gonna do a batch of wrinkles or something, the odd three rule always seems to look better than, like, say if you add four, it starts to look there's too much even, too many of the same even things going on, and it just doesn't look as organic and interesting. So when you do sculpt wrinkles or textures or things like that, try to think of that rule of three. Sometimes you have to break it, but it is interesting how it does help. Oh, shoot, yeah, Sam, I just remembered it. So last week we were talking when I was showing the hand. Was it last week?
Last week, yeah.
Yeah, last week we were talking about the hand, and I was talking about the Vaseline trick, and I couldn't remember the artist where I learned it from. A buddy of mine who I've known for a long, long time, model kit sculptor and toy sculptor Sean Nagel. Thank you, Sean. Actually, if you're watching this, for me to help me remember where that came from. It was an old school sculptor who now is like he's like a bodybuilder, man. He's in amazing shape. Dan Platt. He shared it. He shared that tip in an old, I think it was an old AFM magazine, or if I remember correctly. AFM magazine is, for those of you that don't know, it was a model kit magazine for garage model kits, and Dan Platt used to do articles in there where he would share tips, sculpting tips and tricks. And I believe it was that where he shared the tip on how to get Sculpey to stick to its baked self. So when you bake the Sculpey and you want to stick more Sculpey to it. And I'm pretty sure that is exactly where I read that. Sean remembered for me, which is good. I couldn't remember. It was so many years ago. I mean, we're talking like early 2000s. So,
Is there something people would know Dan Platt from?
Dan Platt was, if you're an old school model kit guy, you would know him from Barker Brothers model kits, and I forget his own. He had his own company where he was doing stuff for a while, and I apologize, I forget the name of that, what that was exactly, but. And I'm not even sure he's still sculpting or not. I hope he is, because he was an amazing sculptor. He was an incredible sculptor. He also worked in the movie industry. Funny enough, my very first job in the movie industry, which a buddy of mine got me on, Steve Wang, had got me on this job called The Cave. The movie called The Cave. And that was my very first gig in 2004, I believe. And I worked with Dan. Dan was there working on one of the creatures, and so I got to work with him, and that was fun, man, because I'd looked up to him, just in the model kits. I knew him there. I actually didn't know that he was in movie effects. I thought he was just a toy sculptor and model kit guy, but then I found out, oh no, he works in film, which I had no idea. So it was cool, very cool to work with someone like that, that you've seen, learned from, and seen some stuff from. You're not expecting it. It's always fun. All right, so I'm just working around here. So if you look at this side now, you look at we're starting to feel like, okay, he's wearing some clothes. And you go back to this side, and it's a little less. You're like, okay, I don't really see yet. So I got to put some more wrinkles in here, and more doodads and stuff. More worms and thingies. That's it. More thingies. So this is one of those things you just gotta sit back and have fun with. If you let it, if it's tedious to you and you're like, oh man, I don't want to sit there and do all this. You got to take your time and just have fun with it. Try things out, and try to keep it light-hearted. Don't get too serious with it. You know, have fun. That's the key. And the more fun you have with it, the more you'll enjoy the process. You know, just remember, there's no race. You know, it's your own art like this. You know, if you're working for a client and you're on a deadline, that's different. I mean, then you're a little bit more in a rush. But if this is for yourself, you know, just no need to rush. Just take your time. Make it as cool as you can make it. I know for a lot of sculptors, it's just more of a hobby, so you know they can take their time. But I mean, I know if you're a serious commercial artist or something, then you're gonna be under deadlines, which, uh, you know, they suck. They can suck. They can suck the life out of you. um. All right. Let's see here. I'm just playing with some more of these wrinkles here. Even if it doesn't make 100% sense, I'm feeling like I need something. So I'm trying something here. We'll see if it works, if it pays off. And that's the best thing to do, is just try stuff. A lot of people have asked me questions, and you know, and I know, you know, it's tough because, you know, a lot of students or a lot of amateurs or beginners or whatever, you know, a lot of times they just want the straight answer to things. But you know, a lot of times I don't give just well, most of the time I give a straight answer, but most of the time there's sometimes where I feel like, you know, if they're not, if I'm just giving an answer and they're not learning, like they're just looking for an answer handed to them, um, that's really not any good, because you're not really learning that way. So sometimes I've told, you know, students of mine, well, you know, did you try that? Did you try this? Did you try, you know, try things first? Um, because it's not because I want to be a jerk about it. It's just because I know that a lot of learning, it's from trial and error, you know. And so if you're not willing to try stuff, you're not going to learn as much, you know. And you know, so I'm always from the Dick Smith era, and I mean, there were times where I was, you know, a Dick Smith student from the effects industry, and I've, you know, made a few phone calls to Dick Smith and was like, you know, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. Do you have any advice? And you know, his first question was, well, did you try? What did you try? Did you try anything? You know? And then be like, no, I hadn't really tried any of that, you know. And he'd just be like, well, try, you know, try stuff, write it down, take notes, and then get back to me and let me know what your results are, and we can go from there. And you know, I'd get off the phone, and you know, I'm, you know, a couple times be like, oh, you know, why didn't he just tell me what to do? But it's because, you know, he wants you to learn and think for yourself. And it seems like today's a day and age, you know, a lot of kids want the answer just on a silver platter, and but I think that's just kids in general. I mean, not just today's age, but you know, I think that there's something to be said there. Like, you know, you need to try stuff in order to see if it's going to work or not, and you'll learn a lot that way. I mean, you can't be afraid to make mistakes, is what I'm really saying. You know, because if you're afraid to make mistakes as an artist, you're not going to grow as fast. The artists I've seen that aren't afraid to make mistakes, they grow really quick, man. I've seen a few out there that's like, wow, in a couple years, it's like, Jesus, it looks like they progressed in a few years what took me several years, you know, several more years anyway. So, and I think we're almost at what? We're almost at 7 o'clock now?
Yep.
So, we're at 7, so we're going to share with you guys. I'm going to pause for a minute here after I get this last wrinkle in. I got to get this little wrinkle in, and then
Lead to the next one.
10 minutes. 10 minutes later, I got to get this wrinkle in. Then we'll share it. No, we'll stop and I'll share here with you guys really quick. Yeah, and there we go. So okay, I got that wrinkle in. This is looking kind of interesting now up here. Because I even though he's muscular and squat and all that, I want a sense of the suit being kind of loose on him in a weird way in places. Like, I know it might not totally make the most sense, but it's for interest. I want when painters paint this piece, or I'm not going to produce this piece. We talked about that, but let's say I was going to paint this piece, which I might do one for myself. I do want to have enough area of interest that I can pull out some interesting textures and details and stuff in the paint application. With that being said, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to remove these glasses because they're driving me crazy. It's time for me to visit the eye doctor and get prescription. My God, my eyes are bugging out lately. It's just time. I've reached that age. Actually, I'm going to keep this here. I'm going to move Batman over here and some of these tools. We'll keep the turntable here, and we're going to share. Okay, tonight we're going to share with you guys an artist that a lot of you guys are probably very familiar with already. If you're not, I'm going to be actually shocked by this, and how dare you, and you better go get familiar with this artist because he's been a big influence on me in my career, that's for sure. It's pretty obvious when you look at some of my artwork, especially the mask stuff. He's been forever an influence on me, and many artists out there have been influenced by him. So tonight, I'm going to start with the smallest piece. We're going to share the work of Jordu Schell. Now, Jordu Schell is a creature designer, specifically a creature designer. And many years ago, when I first discovered Jordu's work, it was at a IMATS show. And this is a true story. Now, IMATS became a very big show for the makeup industry, and people like Jordu, who are creature designers, would go there and have a booth and set up and do demos and whatnot and talk about the work they do. And this was very early on IMATS. I went to one of the shows, and I was just walking around by myself, and there was Jordu, and he was sculpting this kind of troll bust or something, if I recall, something like that, a creature of some sort, out of wet clay, which I was familiar with wet clay already, but I had never seen people doing small stuff like the way he was doing it and what he was doing. And I just remember thinking, because I remember thinking, man, I really want to do creature stuff that's kind of that, Bernie Wrightson vein and Frank Frazetta and all these different influences I had up to that point. But I hadn't really thought I was doing creatures, but I hadn't really thought about taking them into specific realms the same way I'd seen, what Jordu was doing, which was really out there, thinking differently, thinking more out of the box, and otherworldly. Let me just say it that way. And case in point, this sci-fi monster bust here pretty much illustrates that, to a T. There's three main things I think that are important that he nails with this pieces like this and a lot of his pieces. And it's realism. The forms are realistic feeling. You can identify with them. There's a tremendous character, always a great amount of character in his work. It's not about the details. I mean, he does really nice details, as you can see in this piece here. But I know it's more about the character and the vibe, and there's a humanity behind it, and that's what makes design really great. To me, it's when you can see it in front of you and it feels very realistic, like it could really live and breathe. And you've probably heard Jordu talk about that, and it's very important. And he pulls that off really well. And his imagination is very vast, so that's another thing that drew me to his work, because you really only saw that sort of stuff a lot more in the books of Frank Frazetta artists like Michael Whalen or different artists, Bernie Wrightson. You'd see this that 2D illustration stuff, which is amazing. But to see it 3D, someone just really focusing solely on their own original art, that changed the game for me. That was a game changer. So, and that set forth my own venture in doing that type of creature design, for myself, not and film, of course, but when it's for yourself, it's very personal. So yeah, it was amazing. So this is a great design. I don't recall what he calls this. I know he redid this based on a mask that he had done, and is a brilliant piece. Let me show you guys another one. Now this to me is, and this is why I have this in my collection.
Oh, Casey, just jumping in real quick. I believe Jordu calls that one Supreme Intelligence.
Supreme Intelligence. Okay, because back when I first saw it as a mask, I think it had a different name, but I was going to throw it out, but I don't remember. So Supreme Intelligence. Well, now this is a mask that he did, and if I remember correctly, he actually managed to fit this thing on his head at one point. I think he did it for a Halloween. He told me for a Halloween costume or something. But this is called the Boogeyman, and to me, the Boogeyman is one of the scariest things in my child imagination or from my childhood, because where I grew up in Temple City, California, there was this weird imprinted sort of Bigfoot-like footprint in this concrete outside my house, and it was this strange. Nobody could say why it was there or who did it or anything like that. And I'm sure someone just put it there as a joke before the cement set up. It was in the road. But I remember me and my friends would always talk about the Boogeyman, and that was his footprint. And so, I would stay out because I grew up in this sort of setback neighborhood where it wasn't open to it was open to the streets, the busier streets, but they called it like a village circle. It was like it was kind of in a townhouses kind of combined around into this circular somewhat shape, and I had a bunch of friends there, and we grew up playing what we call ditch'em, which is just basically hide and seek, but we called it ditch'em. I think it's just a cooler name. and there was always walking home at night, I'd go home, this is when I was 8 to 10 years old or whatever, if not younger. And, I'd be out till 10 o'clock at night and then walking home from Ditch'em with my friends, and before it got too late and I got in trouble. And I was always looking over my shoulder, man. I always thought of the Boogeyman. And then fast forward to when I'm older and I first visited Jordu's studio. He had this thing hanging up, and I just remember thinking, I said, "What is that?" And he's like, "That's the Boogeyman." And I said, "Damn right, that's the Boogeyman. That is the fucking Boogeyman. I mean, if there ever was one, that's him." And that's why I had to have this mask, and I got this from him. And yeah, that's another thing. Like, I've always thought that when it comes to insect creatures and boogeyman type things and stuff, Jordu really seems to nail those characters really well. He gives them a very shocking expression that I remember a sculptor friend of his once described to me. It's like the masks he makes, they see through you, like they're seeing through your soul. And it's very true. And I think that's why you get so drawn into them. And I think that's a brilliant design sense that he has, So yeah, I mean, Jordu's been a huge inspiration on me, and I know many, and his work is very vast and creative, and he's always really thinking about what he's doing. You can tell just by looking at the work. He's also an amazing painter, amazing painter as well. So he's got the sculpture skills, the paint skills, the whole 9 yards, and he can sculpt small stuff, large stuff, you name it. He also completed his first film recently, which I got to see a sneak preview of. That was amazing. Maybe we can, I don't know, is there a link to that, Ryan? We should definitely put a link to Jordu's site on here. You know,
Yeah.
we definitely should
Absolutely.
put a Schell Sculpture Studio. Jordu also teaches classes. Sorry, not to interrupt you, Ryan. I apologize. Jordu also teaches classes. So you know, you can get classes from him on sculpting, painting, and I believe he just did a life silicone class on painting realistic silicone. So much like myself, you can get classes from him, and so it's something for you guys to look into. Those of you that are interested in that kind of thing or want to learn more. I always say learning from artists directly is one of the best things you can get, because it didn't exist back in my day. You couldn't go to an artist and, well, maybe certain ones you could, but not creature designers. I didn't know of any creature designers you could go to and learn directly from. It was mostly like makeup effects schools and things like that. So it's an advantage now that you can learn from guys like me and Jordu and all the others out there. So, sorry, Ryan. What were you going to say?
Oh, sorry. All right, Casey, just want to make sure I'm taking care of you and the audience here. We've got his Jordu's website listed. A direct link to the masks that you were describing and talking about here. I got his Instagram, and I'm looking for any news on his current film project. And once we do, we'll get that out there.
Yeah, we should put that up so that people know where to check that out. And I think that's still, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't kept up with it, but I think the film is still not like quite out where it's available to everybody. I know. Maybe it was given out to the people that supported it, but I'm not sure where that's all at. So don't take my word as as that yet. But sorry, what was the film called again? It was oh my God, how did I blank on that? Jesus Christ.
Is this something that's been announced?
Yeah, Ryan, do you remember the name of the film that he did?
No, I'm blanking on it, Casey.
I'm blanking on it right now too. Holy
quickly,
moly.
I'm running through his IMDb at the moment just to see if I can.
Sorry, probably caught you guys off guard with this one. Yeah, I'm totally blanking. Sorry, Jordu. It's just long Monday, and I'm brain dead right now as usual. Yeah. So, but anyway. Also, for you guys out there that collect creature art and model kits and stuff, that's something else that Jordu sells on his site. You can check that out. There's amazing stuff there if you want to pick up a piece. So definitely check out his site for that too.
I want to pick up one of those Supreme Intelligence.
Yeah, that thing is cool, man. Yeah, that's cool. We can show that again. Supreme Intelligence. It's a cool piece. And there's many cool ones. Jordu's done some trolls and stuff you can get, so there's a lot of cool stuff out there.
Casey, do you mind if I throw this one out to the good folks here? If you are not familiar with his work and kind of want a fun, easy to access kind of introduction to Jordu and his personality, I'd have to highly recommend the Distortions Unlimited had put out a show called Making Monsters on the Travel Channel, and a lot of that featured Jordu and a couple of other friends of Casey's as well.
Yeah, Making Monsters. You can actually buy seasons on Amazon. Actually, I know a friend that just bought seasons, and yeah, you can buy those and watch those, and it's just all about guys making.
It's called remote viewing.
Oh, remote viewing! Oh my God, there we go. Remote viewing. How the hell did I forget that?
We're talking about seasons on Amazon.
Yeah, remote viewing is Jordu's film. So check that out if you get a chance. If it's not, it might not be out yet, like available, but it should be. I think. I don't know. So don't hold me to that. But remote viewing, it's a cool film. It's like a short film that he did. And then the other thing is Making Monsters, which used to be on the History Channel, and now there's episodes on or full seasons on that you can buy. There's a few, 2, 3, 4 seasons or something like that on Amazon. I don't know how many. But it's like a show, a real life show surrounded behind the Distortions Unlimited and everything that they create for the haunt industry. And even there's a few episodes where Jordu sculpts some masks, distortions and some fun things like tribute masks to the old distortion masks. And Ed Edmonds is great on there. You know, his wife is on there. Everybody's on there. Mikey Rotell's on there, a buddy of mine, and a few others. So yeah, definitely check it out. It's a fun show to watch, just especially around Halloween time. If you have nothing to do, you want to throw something on. But here's to Jordu. Thank you for all the inspiration over the years. Check him out. Check out his Instagram. You won't be disappointed. I'll tell you that right now. All right. There we go. Anything else I missed, guys?
No, that was great, Casey. At your ready, if we hit a point or a pause point where you want to take some questions, at the moment I'm just tallying them up and getting them ready.
Should we do that now since we're at a...
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that now because I kind of been focused tonight on making sure I get as much on the sculpture done for you guys as possible. So we were kind of holding the questions off for now. Yeah, let's hit into some questions. And you know what? Before we do that, let me can we open a window? I'm like super. I don't know why I'm like hot, but I'm hot. Let me take a quick breather. It's all the camera. It's all the camera pressure. Yeah, thanks, man.
Yep.
It's roasting in my studio. I don't know. I feel like my head is red as a tomato too. Cool. So yeah, let's.
If you want that.
Oh no. So let's take some questions and we'll get into all that. I think it's a good time now.
All right, Casey. Let's. Here we go. We've got. I've got them lined up here, and when you would like to, jump back into sculpting, just let me know.
Well, I'll sculpt. You know what? I'm gonna sculpt while you feed them to me, and then I can kind of keep moving forward.
Sounds great.
All right,
bud. We've got. First question is from Spooky Threads, and they ask, Casey, have you ever used Clear Flex Seal to seal a mask?
Spooky Threads. Thank you for the question. Clear Flex Seal. No, I have not. I have not tried it. I've heard of it. I have not tried it for masks or anything. Again, like we were just talking about with the old Dick Smith rule of thumb, try it. So my recommendation to you, because you might be onto something new, who knows? My recommendation is get yourself a casted piece of latex. It doesn't have to be a mask because you don't want to ruin a good mask or say a mask that you worked hard to cast. Casting masks is a lot of work. So my suggestion is get a nice size chunk of latex. Maybe you just brush up on a board and hair dry it and get yourself a nice chunk and throw some paint down or something on there, whatever your process is, and then seal it up. And with that, and let it cure and everything, and then take it out the next day and just see how rugged and durable it is. Stomp on it, pull it, move it, bend it, flex it, and if it's like bulletproof, then you might be onto something great. The other thing is with it, let's say it dries glossy, but you don't want glossy. Well, now you got to figure out how do you make it matte. How do you matte it out? Or maybe you like it glossy. I don't know. So there's a lot of different variables there, but my suggestion is try it and do some tests and see what happens, and then update us all. Let us know what happens with it and if it worked or didn't work, or because I've never tried it. So I have tried E6000, and I've shared that. That's a good one if you want, but that's if you want your mask to look wet and be super glossy and all that. The one thing I'm going to share with you guys about E6000 that I've run into, and actually it's funny, we were just talking about Jordu because I told Jordu about this. I called him once because we had gone back and forth about E6000. I had a mask once where the E6000 wasn't sticking, and I realized later it just wasn't working right. And I thought, is the naphtha not thinning it correctly? What's going on here? Did they change the formula? Because sometimes that'll happen, and you won't know. But I asked Jordu, hey, you having any issues with this? And he's no, it still works fine for me. It's great. What's going on? And I was trying to explain it to him. Anyway, the long story is I found out that if you have too glossy of a surface, so what I was doing was sealing my surface off with varnishes, Liquitex gloss varnishes. You don't want to do that. That was the problem. So what happens is you get beading and separation of the E6000. I found that the surface needs to be matte. You know, it needs to be like dulling spray or matte spray or a light layer matte, or you can use matte varnish. You can still stick with the varnishes and use matte, but you need a matte surface because if you're trying to brush and make something look glossy and it's over a glossy surface, it's like two things fighting each other. So it doesn't. You just don't have the surface tension to grab the sealer. So avoid that. Okay, next one.
All right, Casey, we've got my buddy Collier Wilms. He asks, and he's been loyal. He's been here at every show so far.
Collier, thank you.
Collier asks, what are some materials that Casey uses to patch resin castings? I'm using EasyFlow 60.
EasyFlow 60? What is he? Can you ask him what is EasyFlow 60? I've not heard of that.
I will do. I'm going to make a note of that.
And he's patching resin with it?
Yeah, it looks like that's what he's using so far.
Okay, I'm curious. We're gonna learn something new from Collier. Thank you for being here every episode. We appreciate that, man. That is huge. Can't thank you enough. So what do I use to patch resin? Well, if it's a little hole or pinhole or a broken piece or something like that, I pretty much stick to the same old that I've always done, which is like Aves epoxy or Magic Sculpt epoxy. I'll use those. And then as far as gluing resin together, I don't like super glue because I feel like it gets brittle over time and it's easy to break. And so I like a 5-minute epoxy, the same stuff you would use to do clear epoxy on latex masks over the eyes, the 5-minute, the DevCom epoxy. I use that to glue the kits together. But to fix patching, bubbles or problems in resin or whatever, seam lines or whatever it is, resculpting stuff. Pretty much epoxy, the 2-part epoxies. There's a million out there. You can use, if you like, you can use what's the one, Milliput or Magic Sculpt or Aves, and Aves makes I forget what it's called. They make a fluid, a thinning fluid that works really good to blend with. I think it's called safety solvent, and safety solvent's a great thing to buy because man, you can really blend the putty down. Because how you get like with putty, you get the edges and they just don't want to blend down to the resin perfectly. So sometimes you got to sand it. But the safety fluid, man, you can really get it with your finger or a brush to blend really nicely right into the resin. So I think it's a must to have that. And the beauty of that safety solvent is it works with, I have not found an epoxy it doesn't work with. So it works with Magic Sculpt or Milliput or whatever. So that's my thing, and not really any big secrets there, same old.
Awesome, thanks, Casey. I'm going to throw a couple more at you here. We've got Neil Leffler. He asks, "Hi, Casey. Any tips for casting very small pieces?"
Neil, thank you for the question. Tips for casting very small pieces. Yes. One, I would say if you find you're going to be casting very small parts in resin, if we're talking about resin, I don't know if we're talking about latex or whatever, but as far as resin, urethanes and stuff, you kind of want to always think about what's going to make your life easier. So like, gang molding those small pieces together into one mold or whatever. Let's say you have a bunch of claws or fangs or teeth or something like that. You can put them in a gang mold. You can make multiples. If you have just say one mold or something of it, you can cast a bunch of them and make a whole row of them and glue them all together on a strip or something, and then you can pour your silicone. You've got like 10 of the same thing or whatever. The nice thing about that is, let's say you get like 1 or 2 or 3 that don't come out, but you get the rest that come out. it's better than doing one at a time and only getting one that doesn't come out or does come out. And because with resin casting, you can. That's the frustrating part, is like when a part doesn't come out. I mean, you can fix it with putty, like we were talking about just a minute ago, but who wants to sit there and fix it all the time? The other tip with that gang mold is also if you do that and then on top of that you pressure cast your pieces, so you have a resin that gives you enough working time to get the resin in the mold, and then pressure cast that under pressure, you really are doing yourself two favors there to save your headaches of not getting good castings out of those small parts, because the pressure will help to force the resin into all the small areas, and then the gang mold, having all those parts, you get a bunch of them out at one time rather than say one here and there. That can take forever, and remixing resin and getting the batch ready, all that time, it takes forever. And so there's ways to save time and work smarter. I would say those are some good tips.
Awesome. Thank you, Casey. We've got next question is from Simon Wallsgrove. My apologies if I mispronounced that last name, though. Hi, Casey. When sculpting full-figure creature maquettes, do you typically design your armature as you go, or do you sketch out an armature map to use as a guide? Many thanks from across the pond.
Simon, thank you for the question. That's an awesome question. Pretty much, if it's straight human anatomy we're talking about, like it's just the proportions of a male figure, then I have little sketches here. No, I have here. I'll pull them out here. Let me find one here somewhere. I can share with you guys. I made these a long time ago out of an anatomy book, and this one here happens to be 1/9 scale. So I went to this is back in the day when you go to like Kinko's, a copy place. This is how long ago I made this. But this is a 10th scale. Sorry, this is a 1/7 scale. So that means it's 10 inches from the top of the head down to the toes. So this is a 10-inch figure, and it shows the front and back. And so if it's straight anatomy, like this, then I'll just use this to build my armature wire off of. I always start at the foot. I give myself a little extra length here, and then I go up to the knee. I bend, and then I go up to the hip, and I bend over this way, and I go up the torso to the shoulders, the clavicle just below it, and go out to the shoulder, then down to the elbow there, put another bend down to the wrist, and then leave myself a little extra length for hands if I need it or not. Otherwise, I'll cut it off there. I usually don't do an armature for the head. I usually like the neck to just be solid clay or whatever. But yeah, and then I'll build the other side just in reverse, right? And then I'll tie the center together, and then you've got your armature. And then the feet I'll just plant into a board, and then maybe out the back of the butt I'll do like a piece of pipe or something to make the armature sturdy so it doesn't push back and forth on you as you're putting clay on. And then a lot of times I'll wrap it in tin foil lightly to give it a underlayer. But that's getting way beyond. So now if it's a creature though, if it's something you made up, then yes, a sketch of your creature is either a really good idea, or if you're just good with knowing basic proportions on what feels and looks right, and you're good at estimating the clay and the armature wire, a lot of times I'll just build the armature, just by eye without any drawing. Usually that's the way I do it. I've done so many armatures over the years that I kind of know, and if I have a creature design in mind, I can pretty much figure it out. Is the arms really long, or is the legs short, or legs long, arms short, whatever it is. And I'll build out the armature, and then I'll kind of adjust it as I go, in terms of like posing. Once I pose it, and I can look at it, and I can kind of foresee where all the clay is going to be, and then I can kind of determine, okay, the legs are a little long, I need to cut them or whatever, and make adjustments before I commit to anything. Years ago, I used to commit by putting epoxy putty all over the armature. And that became a big mistake, and not necessary. So I switched to tinfoil because then I can still cut in and easily get inside. Once you have putty on there, you can't cut things. You can't, if it's on a joint, you can't bend it anymore. And I find that as you build the clay out and move along, you need to tweak little increments here and there. Like, okay, the arm needs to go a little more. Okay, it needs to come back here a little bit. Okay, this needs to move a little bit. Okay, the hand needs to go. So you start, as you're building out, you start seeing little tweaks, and you can continue to do that through the clay. So that's a smart thing to keep in mind, is you want to always be able to continue to move that armature, even up till the end of sculpting, if you find that something's just, maybe an arm is off or something. So it's good to keep that in mind. But yeah, it doesn't hurt if you're good at illustration and sketching. It does not hurt to draw it out first and then build your armature. That's a good way, foolproof way to go for sure.
Awesome. Thank you, Casey. We've got next question from Mikey C for Spook Show. He asks, "Hi, Casey. What would be a good setup for a life-size head and shoulders bust armature? 2x4s and pipes?" Question.
A good setup for, well, thank you for the question, first of all. Mikey, you said, right? Mikey Seaver?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for the question, Mikey. So I think he's talking maybe for a mask or a prop or something, right? So, yeah, I mean, 2x4 works. I mean, you can definitely keep it very cheap and simple like that. I always stick to like a life cast or something. Oh, maybe we shouldn't open the window. People are racing outside. I forgot. There's going to be noise outside, of course. I always find that an armature like a life cast is the best for. I don't know if you're talking for masks or something like that. One of my favorites that's really simple is just a foam mannequin head on a pipe. We talked about that last week. You guys can go back to last week's episode, and I rambled on about how to do a one-piece mask mold and all that. So that's in episode 4, I think. Yeah. So I've got to remember what's in our episodes. So but yeah, the nice thing about the foam heads is there's a hole underneath, and you can get foam heads at hobby stores, Michael's and Hobby Lobby, and there's a hole under there, and you can just put the head down onto a pole, a steel pole that's connected with a flange to a board with some screws, and then you could just build your wet clay over that if you're doing just like a head mask or something like that, or a prop mask. And then the other way is a pipe flange mounted to a board, and then you can do plaster bandage or newspaper with tape, real tight. You can just do that if you want to be real simple about it. But if it's a wearable full mask with chest and everything, you may then want to go to like a life-size bust, a life cast, or one of the Ed busts from Monster Makers. Woo! My brain is having to do overtime tonight. I don't know if it's a combination of being exhausted or what. So, sorry about that. Anyway, those are some ideas for you, Mikey. I hope those help, and I hope I'm answering your question correctly. If I understand it, I think you're just talking about the best armature for underneath masks and stuff like that. That's you've got a lot of options there. There's you can't really go wrong. It just depends on what your design is. Let's say you're doing some alien thing with a skinny neck. Then you're going to want to go to like a pipe and flange if it's not meant to be wearable. If it's something that's meant to be wearable, then you want something that you got to build upon a little bit larger. So, yeah, hopefully that helps.
Awesome, Casey. Thanks. Took some notes on that one myself. That was awesome. We've got Blue Dragon 77 asks, "Where do you get your eyeballs?" And he was referring to the eyeball, the items that you're using on your maquette there, on your sculpture. I mentioned in the chat, I believe it to be beads, but we'll let the man himself answer.
Yeah, they are. You're correct. So these are just glass beads from Michael's craft store. I believe that's where I got them. You can go to Michael's craft store for small maquettes like this and just pick up a bunch of different beads. They don't have to be glass, but I recommend glass ones over plastic, excuse me, because you don't want to do plastic in case you're using Sculpey and you're going to bake it in the oven. The plastic beads will just melt in your oven, so it's better to just have glass ones, to be honest. And they're not that expensive to buy, and you can buy tons of different colors or different beads in different sizes. If sometimes you might want to. I change it all the time. Like, I just pick these orange, red ones for this guy, but sometimes I use white or light blue or a light purple bead that's like translucent, and I just pop it in. I mean, a lot of guys like to sculpt eyes, but man, I don't understand why you would bother sculpting a super round shape and spend all that time unless you're, carving, you're making it look a certain direction, like old school artists would do. They would have a bust, and have it looking a certain direction. That's fine. That's a different thing. But when it comes to like reproduction and you need a nice, perfect round eye to paint on, then I say just throw a bead in there, so you can go find the right size for the scale that you're doing. And so Michael's Crafts or any craft store, or, if you go to like one of those outdoor, sometimes you'll find outdoor marketplaces and there's people there with beads and stuff. You'll find some really cool ones. So yeah, just keep your eyes open for craft stores and just go in there, and they'll think you're making some crazy bracelet thing, and you'll be like, no, man, I'm sculpting monsters. These are eyes. I don't know how many times I've been asked, like, oh, so what are you making today? And they're looking at me all weird because they know I'm not making bead bracelets. I'm wearing Slayer shirts or whatever. They're like, wow, this guy's making bead bracelets. What is this dude doing with the beads? So that's funny. They always ask me, like, what is this for? What project are you doing? Making monsters. All right, lady? No. I need eyes. Yeah, where's my coupon? Just give me my coupon. I need my eyes. I need to go. Yeah, give me my 40% on my $2 beads. Anyway, great question, though. And yeah, I've seen a lot of sculptors use just beads, and it works great.
Awesome. Thanks, Casey. We've got just a couple more here for you. We've got T-Tan asks, who's your favorite sculptor that you have personally worked with?
Favorite sculptor who I've personally worked with?
Oh, man.
No pressure.
Not at all.
Oh my God, there's so many I want to say, but like, how do you? Yeah. Well, let me just be fair. I'll just list a few of them, I guess. Well, and when you say worked with, I mean, some of them I've worked with, but we're not in the same department. When it comes to like Sideshow, I've met some great sculptors there that I'm a painter there. I'm not a sculptor there, so I work in a paint, they work in sculpt. But okay, so the ones I can name, the first one that comes to mind right off the bat, and it's really because I owe him such a debt of gratitude for getting me into the effects industry, and because he's got such a large name being a sculptor, and everyone knows him, knows who he is, pretty much, and that is Steve Wang. Steve Wang, I've got me into the effects industry, helped me get into the effects industry, and he was a sculptor I greatly looked up to and admired. I still do. Amazing sculptor. And he, I when I got the chance to work alongside of Steve Wang, it was not only amazing but intimidating because he's so freaking good, and so his process of how he thinks and designs is. You'll learn a lot, man. A lot more than you think. And you'll learn to push things. Like, I learned to push things a lot further than I ever did before. So, and that's Steve. Just the way his mind works and the way he thinks about design. So that was a great one. One of the other big ones that comes to mind right off the bat is Rick Baker. Rick Baker, I didn't sculpt next to him or anything like that. But I worked at his shop for 11 months or almost a year, I think, on Men in Black 3. And although I was a painter there, actually, most of my effects career, I was a sculptor everywhere I went. But at Rick's, he hired me to be a painter. He was really into the paint work I was doing on some of my masks at Monster Palooza. So he asked if I'd come work on this Men in Black 3. And I said, yeah, of course. Yeah, like no, let me think about that, Rick. Like, yeah, no, it was.
No, sorry, man.
Yeah, no, it was like a no-brainer. But the cool thing was I had this weird. I usually don't get that starstruck or have weird moments like that or anything. But I had this one night. There was one night I had this weird moment with Rick. He didn't know, but he's gonna find out now if he listens to this stream. I was working on this freaking hand thing for Men in Black, and it was not going so well. I mean, well, first of all, I was not a fabricator in the effects industry. I never fabricated anything, out of any kind of material. It wasn't what I did. I either sculpted or I painted, and mostly sculpted. I mean, that's just what I was a sculptor. But when I went to Rick's, Rick is from the old school days too, where like, you should be able to do everything. You should have some clue on how to kind of do everything. And it's not a like, oh, you don't know how to do this. It's just like, no, here, we need this, and make this. And so he called me in to be a painter, but the first task he assigned to me was to make this hand for Boris the animal, the lead bad guy in the movie, and it was this out of silicone and like platinum silicone, which I had never worked with before, and he was like, with Rick, it's like, oh, you're gonna make this, and you're gonna do this, and you're gonna do that, and it's like, wait, what? Wait, I'm gonna do what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm just gonna, he makes it sound like you're just gonna whip shit out of thin air, and you're like, no, wait a minute, this is like, I gotta think this through, man. And it's Rick, you're not gonna be like, oh, here's some crappy thing I made, Rick, for you. You're gonna be gone. You're gonna be fired, or he's gonna wish you away to the fucking cornfield. So I come to find out, I found out that Rick had approached a bunch of other guys to make this glove, and they all of them were like, nope, no, Rick, I'm good. And so the joke was like, not only did I get suckered into making this thing for Rick, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I had no clue what to do. It was just like, here's this foreign material, and and there's no instructions on what to do or how to do this. You just have to make it all up. So I did what anyone would do in those shoes, is start talking to some of my peers and some guys around the shop to get some ideas on like, hey man, what can I do? Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with this. And so they helped me. Steve Koch and Norman Cabrera and a few other guys gave me some suggestions on where to start, and it gave me a jumping off point. And it was just like we talked about earlier. I had to trial and error this whole glove from scratch, like figure it out. Like, how is this going to even work? Anyway, this is a long story. I'm sorry, but this is worth sharing. Anyway, so I make this, I get this glove, fairly along. I mean, it's not finished or nowhere near finished, and I'm on my like second week making this stupid glove that's frustrating me to no end, and it's a pain in the butt, and it's got all these little tiny baby fingers. My friend Mario Torres had cast his daughters at the time, their little fingers, so it had all these little fingers everywhere, because Rick wanted all these little fingers like opening up and being all up this glove that he was going to wear. And so anyway, here I am trying to glue all these stupid fingers on. Gluing silicone tiny fingers on is a pain in the ass to other silicone. And Rick went on vacation to Hawaii, and when he comes back, he told me, like, when I come back, I want to see this. When I come back, I want to see this thing all done. Okay, it's gonna be cool, right? Yeah. Make it really cool. Come back, and I want to see this thing done. And I'm like, Okay, Rick, sure.
Hawaii.
Sure. Enjoy your trip. I'll be here frustrated trying to figure out this stupid hand. Why couldn't you just give me paint jobs to do? Like you wanted me to come do. I was like so bummed. Like, oh my god, I thought I was gonna be painting masks. That was my comfort zone. And he just took it right away. So he leaves, and I got this hand like I said, like it's not done. There's no paint on it. It's just silicone. I'm still trying to glue stuff together. He walks up, takes one look at me, does the right, and I'm like, oh shit, and everybody in the shop, my friend like Joey Orozco, like just throw paint on it, just get paint on it already. I'm like, I can't paint this thing till it's done. Like, there's no point in putting paint on when it's not finished. It was just one of those frustrations. So Rick comes up, he sees it unfinished, and then he walks over to me like 20 minutes later, and he comes up and he's like, hey, you're making a big project out of this thing. What are you doing? And I'm like, oh no. I'm like, well, I'm done. I'm going to get fired. Rick's done with me. And I go, well, man, Rick, I'm sorry, dude. I don't know what I'm doing with this. I'm just trying to figure this all out. And I had made this whole understructure to hold the silicone in place and everything, and tried it on Norman because he had a big arm, and I knew if it fit him, it might fit the other actor. And I was just trying everything I could under the sun to make this thing work. Anyway, so I started staying, to show Rick that, I didn't want Rick thinking I was, just screwing around. So to show him, like, hey, I'm trying my best here. I'm trying to make this thing work for you. I stayed late every night. I didn't leave the shop. I didn't go home at 5. And then one night I was there till 9 o'clock at night working on this thing. From 8 in the morning till 9 at night. And Rick comes over. It's just me and him in this big shop in Glendale. And he comes over and he sits down next to me. And he's like, hey, let me help you with this. This is taking forever, and I want to help you out. And so I'm like, okay, I'm like, shit, what do I do? And so I stand back, and I'm watching Rick try to glue little fingers on the way I was doing it, And he's talking a little bit to himself, like, okay, so what I was thinking, I was thinking like blah blah blah, and then the fingers start falling off, right? The fingers start slowly falling off. And then the next thing I know, I'm sitting there listening to Rick Baker giggling like a little kid, laughing. And he turns to me and goes, oh, this is a lot tougher than I thought it was going to be. And I'm like, that's kind of what I've been trying to tell you. This is a pain in the ass, man. And, he's like, yeah, oh, God damn, I didn't realize this was, such a chore. And then he realized, okay, crap, I gave this guy a kind of a hard thing to deal with. And I had a big sigh of relief because I was like, okay, Rick understands. And and it was at that moment that I had that weird, surreal moment of like, oh my God, I'm sitting with Rick Baker one-on-one just creating something. Who gets to do that? Like just sit with the man, this legend of makeup effects, and create. And I had that was the first time I had like with Rick where I was like starstruck in a weird way, like, oh my God, dude, I'm with the wizard of makeup effects doing a monster hand and working with him, like genuinely working with Rick. It was weird. And I hadn't had it up to that point. And I never told him. But I got the hand done, and even though he gave me so much shit for taking forever, which thank you, Rick, for being patient with me and not firing my ass, he later, after we tried it on the actor, he later came back to me and said, hey, you know what, you did a great job on that, and you did the right thing, because he was questioning part of how I was doing it, and because he had something in his mind that he thought it would work, and I had something different, but he really came over to me to tell me thank you and appreciate it. And then he said, now go make some cool masks or I'm going to fire you. And I went and made cool masks, and I was happy ever after. So sorry, that was a long story, I know, but I had to share the whole thing with you because it's such an awesome memory of working with Rick that I had. And to this day, I cherish that memory and that experience everywhere I go and tell people about it. And I actually have a painting back here I bought and Rick signed to me. You know, thank you to my friend Casey for helping on Men in Black 3, which is awesome.
Is
So
this Frankenstein?
yeah, you want to show that the big Frankenstein back here? It's covered up by all this stuff, but that Frankie and it signed it down the bottom. So it hangs in my studio. Anyways, so those are some guys that come to mind. Legendary dudes I look up to that have helped me out tremendously along the way. And anyway, all right, Ryan. Sorry, do we got any others?
Oh, no, that was amazing, Casey. Thanks, man. I think everyone enjoyed that. Let's see. We're just about finished here. We're gonna say, let's see. Creative Critter asks. He's asking about the small tool. In fact, it's the one you're using right now, I believe. Where can you find one similar?
Okay.
And I had directed him towards that tool location, perfecttouch.com, I think it was.
Walter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Walter's still making these. We haven't figured it out. I haven't gotten on the phone with him yet. I should call him and just see if he's still making these or what. The site is still up there. It's hard to find, kind of. It doesn't just come up right away, but it's Perfect Touch Tools, and I think it's Perfect Dash Touch, right, or something like that. And and Walter makes these things, and I don't know the exact names of which ones these are. I'd have to go on there and find. These are the micro wood tools, though. They're smallest wood tools that he makes. They're kind of hard to find. You have to do some digging on his site. But I would call him, his number's on there, and ask if he still makes these. And there's a set of little ones. They're not cheap, man, but they are amazing. And I've had these tools right here that you're seeing since the early 2000s. And I've used them. And I'm not sure which one he's referring to. There's one with a little finger end, and then this one is more of like a flat spatula and then a thinner curved spatula on the other side. So these are like my two favorites right here. They're amazing. But those are what I'm using. But yeah, Perfect Touch Tools. And call up Walter and see if he's still making tools or not. And if he is, get them, man. Get them while you can, because and they're not cheap, man. They're like $25 a tool or something, or he might even sell a whole set. But it's like it's going to cost you over 100 some bucks for a set, but it is worth it because you're not going to find. And I forget the woods that he uses. He uses some exotic woods and stuff, so they're really strong. They hold up really well. But yeah, amazing tools.
Thanks, Casey. I think we've got I just sent a direct link from perfect-touch.com to the actual wood art modeling tools that you're talking about, and put that up there for the folks.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We've got, Casey, I saved this one for last, just, if we had time, and it was kind of a deep question, and it's from Blake Murphy, and he asks, have you ever lost passion in art or passion in sculpture? If so, how did you overcome that? What were the motivations to overcome that?
Have I ever lost my passion? That is a good question. Thank you, Blaine. Thank you for the question. Thank you for the deep question, man. I think it's hard for me to come to terms with the word lost, because that then identifies with like giving up in a way in my mind, or failure, or not failure, but not failure. Sorry. Just like giving up. I don't think I've ever gotten that far, but I certainly have had moments where I'm not inspired, 100%. And I think some artists might be afraid to admit that. And maybe not. Maybe some aren't. But I have had a lot. I've been uninspired to paint. I've been uninspired to sculpt. I've been totally uninspired altogether. And one of the worst times that happened to me was when I'm stressed, and I'm sure you guys might be the same, when I'm stressed out about money or whatever is going on, or something's not going right in life, or whatever it is, I find it harder to be inspired at those moments for sure. But there was a moment a few years back. It was just around the time, oddly enough, and this made it very challenging, is around the time I was doing my artist profile video for Sideshow Collectibles. They had done on YouTube, which we could share that with people, my artist profile about my mask making. And at the same time we were filming that, I was working 8 hours a day for Sideshow. I was filming that on the side. On the side of that, I was taking orders from people and trying to fill orders. On the side of that, I was doing art for Monster Palooza and trying to have a family and trying to give my family time too. So you can imagine, like, all that in one go just gets to be too much, right? And even worse, it was at the end of my Monster Palooza days where I was starting to be so burnt out and fried that I just didn't have it anymore in me to do the show that way. It wasn't the show's fault. It wasn't anyone's fault. It wasn't anything to do with the show particularly. It was me. It was like, I'm burnt out and I'm not giving myself a break. And I hadn't given myself a break for many, 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 many years, And I still run into this today sometimes, where I just don't break away. I break away more now than I used to. I think with art, you got to take a break, man. You can't. Everyone wants to be this machine, like cranking shit out. And it's great when you're inspired and you're cranking shit out and you're not stopping and you're just go and you're just in that zone. That's awesome. But the older you get, at least I find, the harder it gets sometimes, I feel like. And not to say that, there's not artists out there at older ages cranking away. There are. I've seen them. But the thing is you can get fried, man, and too much of something isn't always a good thing. And so I say take some breaks. And I know, with artists in their heads, at least speaking for me, I always feel like, oh no, I can't take a break. I got to do this. I got to get this done. I got to get that done. I got to do this. I got to do that. Nowadays, it's just like, you know what? I don't got to do this. I don't got to do that. I can take a break for myself and for my family and just chill. And I don't need to get all this done and crank all this shit out and all that. So I think that's one thing I can tell you is don't feel like you have to be, always at 100%, right? Because you can burn out, and that can lead to not so many good things, health issues or whatever aside as well. So it's a balance, man. It's a balancing act. So I've lost it. I've lost creativity before. I've lost the vibe and the enjoyment. So yeah, but the thing is, I always come back to it. I always find my way back to it somehow or another. One thing I did share with some artist friends of mine over the years was very helpful, because I not just me, I've seen other artists lose their passion or joy or whatever it is. I don't know what, maybe depression or whatever. I've helped a few guys out by telling them, like, go back and revisit all the old stuff you did. Go back and revisit your original stuff. Like go back and see that. Basically, look at the history that you created. With your own two hands. Go back and revisit that history, because what that does is it brings back a lot of good memories about good times that you had creating art and doing what you do, and that can actually remotivate you quite quite in a positive way, you know. I've done it. I've gone back and, you know, oh my God, sometimes, you know, there's things you don't want to see. Sometimes that's depressing. Like, oh my God, I created that hunk of junk. No, but no, usually I found that it's a good thing, you know, a positive thing. And because you go, oh man, I remember I created that. Oh man, I remember when I did this. Oh, I remember that. And then you have some memory, you know, oh, I remember I went to a show and this guy said this about that or this or that. And you just start realizing like, oh man, you know, I've had a lot of fun doing all this and I've gone all this way, you know, so you're not ready to give up. I've never gotten to the point where I want to give up though, where I'm like, oh, I'm done with this. You know, I've never gotten there, if that's what you mean. So, but yeah, I've had moments of like, ugh, I'm burnt out. I can't right now. I just need a break. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. It's a good thing. It's a good thing for your mind and your mental health. Also doing other types of art can be good. Like if you're not good at something, it's, you know, you can take a break from, let's say you're nothing but a sculptor, you know, like I'm not really great at 2D. So sometimes I was doing this thing for a while, for a few months, where I was just like I couldn't sculpt. I'm not couldn't sculpt. I need to take a break, man, and just start drawing, you know, just studying anatomy, drawing, and just trying to get like my craft of illustration craft stronger, you know. That's a good thing too, because it's not exactly the same thing over and over again. You're now learning something different and new. So yeah, you know, some guys do painting or I don't know, you know, just something different, something else.
Thank you very much, Casey. That wraps up our questions. And on that last point, it's really interesting watching a lot of established artists like yourself. And I grew up watching Dick Smith and Rick Baker, and Rick especially. It's been interesting in the modern age watching him bounce from portrait paintings to he had conquered ZBrush at one point in that community, and just kind of just moving from one art platform to another. It seems like what an inspiring way to just keep it going.
Yeah, I mean Rick's a good one to point out because like if you watch his Instagram, he's always like kind of doing one thing and then do a little bit of this and then a little bit of that and then back to this and back to that. And I think it's a good way, because if you're doing the same thing always over and over again, like if you're not good at painting, then try to get good at painting. If you're not good at illustration, try to get good at illustration. If you're not good at sculpting, try to get good at sculpting. I mean, because the more, also those things really play into one another, and the more you get good at those things, the more well-rounded you'll be as an artist anyway. So it's good. And take your time, and or maybe you don't do digital sculpting, try some digital sculpting. It can't hurt, man. It can only help. And so I just say give it a shot. I know we're winding down to the end here. I've gotten a good amount of wrinkles on this guy here. I mean, we're moving along. So to kind of give you guys a look forward at things, before I go into that, I do want to mention I am having a flash sale on my website. We can maybe bring up my website, caseylove monsters. That sale's ending soon, so if you guys were looking to save some coin on paints or model kits or whatever, now's the time. I'm gonna probably have that go till next weekend, and then that'll be the end of that sale. I know the paint sets you're basically for a 36 color set you're only paying like little over $3 a bottle with the sale price. I mean you're not going to find paints out there for $3 a bottle. It's pretty awesome. So if you need to stock up on some paints, it's a good one. They're just acrylic, airbrushable acrylic paints. And then I've got model kits and all that stuff too. But looking forward, because this is going to wrap up for the Batman piece for now. For now, not forever. But looking forward, we're going to do something different next week on Monday. We're going to have something totally new for you guys.
Exciting.
Yeah, something new and exciting. I don't even know what it's going to be yet. That's how new and exciting it's going to be. I don't even know what it is because I haven't decided. But we'll have something new, and some of these streams, we've talked about this before. Some of these streams are going to be a series of like 4 episodes or so, and some are going to be one-offs. One-off episodes depending on what it is. There's so much I want to cover and get to and show you guys and share with you guys. So. Next week will be a little change up. We will be off of Batman, Vampire, Batman, whatever it is here. But we'll come back to this at some point and share some more finalized process with you guys on it. Maybe when we get into detailing monster clay or something, we'll have this ready to go by then, and we could talk about that. I don't know. We'll figure that out. So it's not the end of Batman, Vampire. He's getting sad. He's getting a little sad. Or maybe I am. But I've had a lot of fun working on this guy. I hope you guys have learned a lot from this process with Monster Clay and this Vampire Batman. If you haven't tried the gray Monster Clay medium, I highly suggest you try this clay. It's a lot of fun to work with. You can build it up really fast. You can change things easy. You can adjust things. You can do all kinds of really, really neat textures and details and all this stuff. So maybe give that a shot. You can get this from Monster Makers. But we have lots to cover on this show. So there's a whole bunch of episodes coming. Stuff on Super Sculpey, stuff on wet clay, masks, maquettes, painting, all kinds of stuff. So even just demo situations like how to sculpt ears properly, how to take a human ear and turn it into a monster ear, and think about design and things like that. Maybe we'll do one on maquettes, or we'll do one on armatures. We're gonna have a ton of different shows. So that's pretty much it. Looking forward, and we can't wait to share with you guys.
That'd be great.
Yes.
Awesome.
And Ryan, any last comments before we wrap it up, or anything from you? Questions?
No, Casey. It's always a pleasure to help in any small way here, and thank you so much, Sam, for the amazing video work. Yes. Just saying that, just as a last comment, I've always been a huge Monster Makers fan. So just a shout out to Arnold Goldman over at the Monster Makers,
Absolutely.
A top-notch gentleman. Yep. And Casey, I just linked for the folks here a link directly to his site with the clay that you're using.
Yeah, yes. Arnold Goldman's is an amazing dude, very humble. If you guys ever have questions about his materials that he sells or anything, hit him up. He's such a willing to share and help, and he's been that way ever since I've known him. So amazing human being. It's a great company to buy your sculpting supplies or whatever you need. I get my latex from him, by the way. That's a good place to get your latex. RD407 Monster Makers latex, the best stuff on the market, in my opinion. There's a lot of good latexes out there, but that's the best in my opinion. Sam.
Yeah.
Anything from you, man?
No, nothing from me. So have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night.
Great show.
Thank you again.
Thanks
We
for
appreciate all of you guys tremendously for coming and being with us every Monday night. We will be right here again for you next Monday. Do not miss out. You can check us out on our Facebook page, which is Monday Night Monster Jam. You can join the group, share your art, talk to others when the stream is not going on all week long. And you can catch me on Instagram at caseylove designs. You can catch my painting Instagram, caseylove paintworks. My Facebook page, which is caseylove. And I think that's about it. And we are out. And thank you again, everyone. Have a great Monday night and a great rest of your week. Bye.